A family vacation unexpectedly turned into a competition for attention. My sister-in-law got a luxury suite, while my husband and I were given a basic motel room. His mother just smirked and said, "You understand, she's more important." I understood perfect. That's why I booked a room at a nice resort for us on my own. When they showed up, their names simply weren't on the guest list. This happened last summer, and it still leaves me with a bitter feeling. My husband Mark and I were invited on a family trip to Orlando, Florida. His mother, Tricia, was in charge of all the planning. She said she wanted the whole family to spend a week together making memories and strengthening bonds. At first it all sounded great. I was looking forward to a well-deserved break from work and thought that at worst, I'd just relax by the pool while the rest of the family did their own thing. I couldn't have been more wrong. From the very beginning, something felt off. Tricia handled all the travel arrangements and bookings herself, which in hindsight should have been my first red flag. She assured us that everything was taken care of and we didn't need to worry about a thing. Later she sent everyone the itinerary, and that's when I noticed Olivia, Mark's younger sister, and her husband were assigned a suite at a high-end resort, while we were booked at a budget motel 5 minutes away. At first I honestly thought it had to be a mistake. I called Tricia to ask if there had been some kind of mix-up. She actually laughed a real unbothered laugh and said, "Oh no, Olivia deserves the best. She's more important, you understand." I went silent. I didn't even know how to respond. What could I possibly say to something like that? Mark had heard the whole conversation on speakerphone. He didn't say a word, just looked uncomfortable, like it wasn't the first time he'd heard this, and was silently hoping I'd let it go. Looking back, I should have declined the trip right then and there. I should have canceled everything. But I didn't. I kept telling myself maybe it wouldn't be so bad. But it was worse. Much worse. When we arrived in Orlando, Olivia and her husband were picked up in a sleek black SUV and driven straight to the front entrance of a 5-star resort. Tricia was standing there waiting for them, clapping her hands like a proud parent. Their suite had welcome gift baskets, personalized bathrobes, wine, the whole luxury experience. Meanwhile, Mark and I were told to grab a cab to the motel. Nobody even offered to help us with our luggage. When we got to the motel, I almost laughed. The place smelled like cigarette smoke and mildew. There was even a dead cockroach in the bathroom. That night I cried. I told Mark I wanted to go home, but he convinced me to stay and just get through the week. It turned out to be the week from hell. Every single day was a clear reminder that Olivia was the golden child, and I was just an afterthought. Tricia had arranged private dinners, spa days, boat trips, and we weren't invited to most of them. I saw all of it on Instagram. Photos of Olivia and Tricia wearing matching sun hats, her husband holding a fancy drink on a yacht, all smiles. Meanwhile, Mark and I were left out of every group chat, every reservation, every outing. When I finally confronted Tricia and asked why we were being excluded, she gave me this fake surprised look and said, "Oh, I just assumed you were busy, and honestly you looked perfectly fine where you were." Then she gave me that same little smirk and added, "Well, Olivia's always been special." That was the last straw for me. I didn't argue, didn't create drama. I simply stayed quiet and waited until the next morning. Without saying a word, I canceled the last 3 nights at the motel, packed our things and booked us a new place, the Grand Floridian Resort. A huge step up. I used my own money and reserved a suite on the top floor, complete with ocean views, spa access, and a private balcony. I didn't tell anyone about the move. Later that day, I casually posted a few photos to my story, nothing flashy, just me enjoying a glass of wine, Mark floating peacefully in a cabana pool, and a shot of a beautiful dinner spread. It didn't take long for the family to note. The next morning, Patricia called. She asked where we were, saying they'd been waiting for us at breakfast. I simply told her that we'd changed our plans and were now staying at the Grand Floridian. Silence. Then she replied, "Oh well, Olivia and I were thinking of dropping by to see you later." I said, "Sure, if your names are on the guest list." Of course, I hadn't added them. About an hour later the phone rang again. Patricia sounded frustrated. Apparently the front desk wouldn't let them in. She said it was embarrassing and asked why I hadn't listed their name. I calmly answered, "We just needed some space. This is our vacation too. And then I hung up. We didn't hear from them for the rest of the day. Mark didn't say much either. I think he was still processing everything. He quietly told me he'd never seen his mother turned away like that. I just nodded. For the rest of the trip we finally relaxed. No schedules, no fake smiles, no passive-aggressive little comments. We did whatever we wanted, whenever we wanted. And honestly, it turned out to be the best part of the entire vacation. Now that we're back home, Patricia hasn't spoken to me at all. Olivia blocked me on Instagram. Mark's been quiet too. I know there's gonna be consequences, in fact, there already are. But honestly, I don't regret a single thing. And the wildest part, there's more to this story that I haven't even told you yet. I really tried to let it go, to move on and leave the whole situation behind. But then something happened that pulled me right back into it. A letter showed up. Not a text, not an email, a real handwritten letter. 2 full pages, written in perfect, neat handwriting, like it was something out of a classic novel. It was from Patricia. In the letter she called me entitled and immature. She said I had disrupted the family dynamic with my so-called selfish behavior. According to her, I had embarrassed her in front of Olivia, and now I owed the entire family an apology. But there was one line that really shook me. She wrote, "If you can't treat Olivia with the respect she deserves, maybe you're not the right fit for this family." That's when I realized, this wasn't just about some passive-aggressive comments anymore. This was a direct message. A warning. I showed the letter to Mark. He read through it. His face went pale and then he sat there in silence for what felt like 5 straight minutes. When he finally spoke, all he said was, "She's serious." I asked him, "What does that even mean?" He looked down and quietly admitted, "She's done this before. She pushed my brother's ex out the same way." I just stared at him. "So she's trying to break us up?" He didn't answer. That night I couldn't sleep. My mind kept replaying everything. Every little comment over the years. Every offhand remark. The forced smiles. The moments when I wasn't invited to family plans. It all started to make sense. She'd never truly accepted me. And Olivia, she was part of it too. She'd always been the favorite. The one who could do no wrong. Mark used to joke about it. About her being mom's favorite. But now I realized it wasn't a joke at all. A few days later, Olivia posted a long pointed Instagram story. It was all about toxic women who pretend to be family, and how some people don't deserve the life they married into. She didn't mention my name, but she didn't have to. The message was loud and clear. And then came the final hit. Patricia called Mark directly. Not me, just him. She told him she was planning a family-only dinner next month. She made it clear that it was for immediate family, and according to her, it would be better if I didn't come. Mark didn't argue. He just told me about it later, as if the decision had already been made. She said it's better if you're not there, he said. Just for now. To give things some time to cool off. I looked at him and said, "But you accepted it." Silence. And in that moment, something inside me just shifted. I realized this wasn't just about Patricia trying to push me away. No, she was slowly, quietly working to pull Mark closer. Making sure he felt like he owed her, rewarding his silence, feeding his loyalty, and honestly, it was working. I didn't cry and I didn't raise my voice. I simply stood up, walked upstairs and locked the door behind me. The next morning I couldn't shake the feeling, so I started looking for answers. I opened our shared laptop. Mark hardly ever cleared his messages, and I went through them. I usually don't do things like that, but something told me I needed to know the truth. And there it was. A whole string of messages between him and Olivia. Dozens of them. She'd been sending him advice for weeks. Telling him to distance himself from me. Calling me manipulative. Even hinting that maybe their mom was right. And that sometimes, people just don't belong in certain families. And then I saw one message. Just a few days before that family dinner. Olivia had written, "Mom says if you want to make things right, you know what to do. She has a little surprise for you. The expensive watch. The dinner. The guilt trips. It was all part of their plan." I didn't confront Mark right away. I needed time to understand what I was really up against. So I acted normal. Polite, calm, distant. Waiting. Watching. And then completely out of the blue. Another twist. I got a message on Facebook. It was from one of Mark's cousins, someone I barely knew. We'd only met once. At a wedding. She wrote, "Hey, I know this is probably a little weird, but I felt like you deserved to know." I overheard Patricia and Olivia talking during dinner. They were saying they think they'll be able to push you out for good. Patricia even joked about setting Mark up with someone else. A friend's daughter. I didn't want to get involved, but I couldn't stay quiet about it. I felt it wasn't just about making me feel unwanted. They were actively trying to replace me. And Mark, whether he couldn't see it or just didn't want to, I didn't know, but either way he wasn't stopping it. I started packing a bag. Not to leave for good, but because I needed some space. I booked a weekend at a quiet cabin 2 hours away. Before I left Mark a note, simply telling him I needed time, but before I went I made one last move. I printed out everything. The messages, the screenshots, the Facebook DM, all of it. I put it all in an envelope and placed it on his pillow. No explanation, no message, just the truth. I haven't heard from him yet, but I have a feeling Patricia has. Because I can sense it. The storm is coming. I stayed in that cabin for 3 days. No texts. No call. I turned my phone off and sat with everything. I thought about the trip, the motel, the smirks, the watch, the lies, Mark's silence, my silence. I'd let so much slide. I hadn't fought back soon enough. And that I realized was on me. But that version of myself, the quiet forgiving one, was gone. On the 4th day, I turned my phone back on. I saw 5 missed calls from Mark, 2 voicemails, and 1 text that stood out. "We need to talk. I saw what you left." I didn't know it was that bad, but it was too late. The next morning I came home. The house was quiet. Mark was on the couch. The envelope I'd left him was open. The printouts were scattered around. He looked tired, worn out. He tried to speak, but I stopped him. "I want answers." He admitted everything. Patricia had offered to support him if he ever wanted to reconsider things. She hinted at a family friend's daughter, someone who might be more compatible. Olivia had encouraged it, even called it an upgrade. I wasn't long-term material. He told me he didn't agree with what they were doing, that he didn't know how to stop it. He kept saying he was caught in the middle. I told him, "You weren't caught. You stood there." Then I told him I'd made a decision. I was going to tell my side of the story. All of it. I wasn't going to post it on Facebook or send it in a group chat. That would have been too easy, too simple. Instead I mailed it. To every single relative. Olivia, Patricia, aunts, cousins, even the family friend with the daughter. I laid it out. Dates, quotes, screenshots, every lie, every exclusion, every insult. I didn't hold back. But I didn't lie either. I ended it with one line. "You may all pretend this didn't happen, but now you know, and you'll never be able to pretend I was the crazy one again." Then I logged off. The fallout was immediate. Olivia posted a passive-aggressive mental health quote about narcissists. Patricia deleted her account for 2 weeks. A few people reached out privately. They said they were shocked. They said they believed me. One aunt even sent flowers. Mark got the worst of it. His family blamed him for letting it get that far. Olivia turned on him. Patricia told him he'd ruined everything. The golden boy was no longer untouchable. But I wasn't done. I filed for divorce. He cried. He said he wanted to fix things. He said he was sorry. I told him, sorry is for small things. This wasn't small, this was betrayal. 2 weeks after I moved out, I got one more surprise. A message from the daughter of the family friend. The one they were trying to set Mark up with. She wrote, "Hey, I just wanted to say thank you. I had no idea they were using me like that. When I saw the emails, the ones you saved for me, it hit different. I hadn't planned on becoming someone's warning, but I guess I did." As for Patricia, she's still bitter, still angry, but she lost the one thing she cared about. She doesn't get to pretend anymore. She doesn't get to call the shots. And Olivia? I heard she tried to book another family trip to the same resort the following year, trying to recreate the family magic. Only one person showed up. Her husband. Everyone else ghosted her. Turns out,
Once the truth comes out, some people stop playing along. As for me, I'm not bitter. Not anymore. I'm just free. And I don't stay in motels anymore.